So you've sent dozens of applications, maybe even hundreds, and you've heard back nothing. No callbacks, no interviews, not even rejection letters. You've rewritten your resume, you've tweaked the cover letter, and you keep applying to more places, but still are finding yourself with the same result. You're doing everything as you were told, and it's still not working. If you want a job in 2026, there's one skill that you really need to learn. One thing that if you did every single day for the next 30 years, will get you further than anything else that you've ever tried. And it has nothing to do with applications or resumes. I know this because I was in your shoes before. I was playing the exact same game, waiting for applications to open up, submitting my resume, refreshing my inbox, and just getting nowhere. What changed everything for me was one skill, and it's the reason that I have the current job that I have today. Let me show you what I mean. Here's what nobody tells you how jobs actually get filled. 80% of job opportunities are filled before they're ever posted online. Let that sink in. The majority of roles, the ones that you actually want, never actually make it to LinkedIn. They never make it to Handshake or any other job recruiting platform out there. These roles get filled through conversations, through referrals, through relationships that were built before the role even existed. We made a whole video about this called the hidden job markets. Take a look if you want to learn more. So when you're sitting there applying applications, you're fighting over the 20% that actually got posted. You're fighting against hundreds, maybe even thousands of other people who all look exactly like you do. And so this is where it gets worse. Your resume goes into an automated applicant tracking system. An algorithm scans it. And if the right keywords aren't there, a human will never see your name. You could be the most qualified person. You can be perfect for the role. It doesn't matter. You get filtered out by a software before anyone even knew you existed. This is the game that you've been taught to play though. Apply online, wait, and just hope for the best. I'm not saying this to make you feel bad. I'm saying this because I need you to understand something. It's not you, it's the system that's broken. It was designed for companies to filter people out, not to help you get in. So the question isn't necessarily how do I write a better resume or how do I apply to more places? The question is if the game is rigged and you know the system is breaking, then why are you continuing to still play it? There's a completely different game out there, and once you see it, you can't really unsee it. So the way to play this different game is the one skill that we talked about earlier, which is cold emailing. Now, before you tune me out, I know what you're already thinking. Cold email sounds like a spam. It sounds desperate. It sounds like those LinkedIn messages from recruiters you never hear from. This is not what that is. Cold emailing, if done right, is the single most powerful tool that you can have to level the playing field. Here's what this actually means. You find a professional, someone that you've never met, someone who works in a field or at a company that you're curious about, and you reach out to them directly with genuine curiosity and a thoughtful message. You're not there to ask for a job. You're not begging for anything. You're just there to learn, connect, and start a conversation. This is why this type of stuff works. People like to help other people, especially professionals who remember what it was like to be in your shoes. When they get a great message from somebody who's clearly done their homework, who's specific, who's curious, who's not wasting their time, they will respond. Well, not every single time, but more often than you'd think. Let me tell you how I got my current job, because it wasn't from an application and the person didn't even ask for my resume. I was doing exactly what you're doing right now, recruiting the traditional way, waiting for applications to open up, submitting my resume, and playing it very passive. This wasn't getting me anywhere, so I completely stopped. I took a step back and asked myself a question I probably should have asked a lot earlier. What do I actually want? Once I got clear on that, and once I had a direction, everything started to change because I wasn't now applying passively and spraying applications into the void. I had a target and I was moving with intentionality and focus. I wanted to work at an investment fund, so I built something to prove that I was serious. I started doing research on my own time, finding companies that were worth investing in, writing up my analysis, and building something that I could actually show someone. Then I found an investment firm that seemed to be similar to what I wanted to do, found out a little bit more about the founder, did a lot of research, understood what he was actually working on, what he cared about, and what problems that he might be thinking about right now. Taking all this information, I sent a nice and thoughtful message that wasn't just, hi, I'm looking for a job, here's my resume. I started by sharing value. I sent companies that I thought were worth looking, and I started to include research that I had done in my free time. I identified a potential problem that he might face and offered my perspective or some solutions to it. He ended up replying, we got on a call and had a very organic conversation. There was no mention of a job. We just had a real conversation. He shared what he was seeing in the market, his perspective, and I just listened and took notes. A few weeks later, I ended up following up, but not with a I'm just checking in type of email. I followed up showing that I'd actually listened to what he said. I took the insights from our conversation and built upon them. And that eventually led to a job naturally. I had no application. There was no resume sent. It was just a cold email that led to a conversation that led to a relationship. And I started by showing that I could add value and I was worth somebody listening to. The thing was, he happened to be hiring at that time, and so it worked out for me. But there was no opportunity posted publicly. If I hadn't cold emailed, I would have never gotten exposed to this job opportunity. If I was just waiting for it to show up on a job board, I'd still be waiting. So now I can already hear some objections. I don't want to bother people. Isn't that kind of salesy? What if he thinks I'm weird? I get it. I felt the same way before I sent my first cold email. There's this voice in your head that says you're being annoying, that you don't deserve someone's time, and that you're not important enough to reach out. But let me tell you that that voice is wrong. Think about it from the other side. You're now a senior professional that's 35 to 40 years old. You've been in your industry for 10 to 15 years, and you get an email from a college student who clearly did their research, who's asking thoughtful questions, and who reminds you of yourself when you're starting out. Are you going to be annoyed? Most likely not. You'll be impressed. You'll remember what it felt like to be lost and searching for your first role. And 20 minutes of your time could genuinely change this young person's life. And so most professionals want to help. They're just humans. They just need you to make it easy for them. And here's the part that nobody talks about. The worst case scenario of a cold email is absolutely nothing. They don't reply and that's it. You're in the exact same position as before you hit send. There is literally no downside to this. The only risk is that you stay where you're at. Despite all these things, most people will never send the cold email. They'll sit with fear, they tell themselves they'll do it tomorrow, and then tomorrow becomes never. So let me start by asking you this. What's actually scarier? Sending a message to a stranger who might not reply, or graduating without a plan or internship or job lined up because you're too afraid to do something as simple as a cold email? Now let's get into it. You're bought in, you want to start cold emailing, but where to even begin? The first step is to find the right people. This is the most important part. A great email to the wrong person goes nowhere. An okay email to the right person can change everything. The key principle is finding people who share something in common with you. This could be the same school, the same hometown, the same student organization, the same career pivot, similar interests. It could be anything. But the stronger connection, the more likely that they will respond. An alumni from your fraternity who works in your target industry is 10 times more likely to respond than a random stranger. And here's how you actually go about finding these people. LinkedIn is your best friend here. Don't just browse randomly, be strategic and be targeted here. Let's say you're a sophomore at NYU interested in marketing. You can search for NYU Stern alumni who work in marketing, specifically someone 5 to 7 years ahead of you, someone that's not too junior or not too senior. Someone close enough to remember what it's like to be you, but far enough ahead of you to have real insight. You scroll through the results, you find someone, let's say her name is Amelia, you see that she went Stern, was in the same business fraternity as you, and now works in brand licensing at a major company. Now you have two things in common with this individual. Now all you need to find is her email. There are a lot of free tools to do this. Apollo.io is one of them, and it takes 2 minutes to just simply find anybody's email for free. So that's the first step. 5 minutes of research and you found a high quality lead with multiple common threads. The next step is the thing that people often mess up. They find one person and agonize over the perfect email for 3 days. You need to avoid doing this and start by finding at least 10 people, maybe even 15. Build up a list because cold emailing is a numbers game, even with alumni or people that you have a connective tissue with. So if you want to start getting conversations, you need to send to a large number of people. I want to caveat that with, and this is something that really matters, is that those 10 emails need to be very good. 5 well-researched personal emails beats 100 copy and paste messages that you're sending to everybody. No message should be able to be copy and pasted. You need to have quality and quantity, not one or the other. The second step after you found somebody is to send the actual email. There are 3 key drivers whether somebody will either ignore your email or respond to you. The first one is the connection strength. This is what we just talked about. How much do you have in common with this person? More that there's a connective tissue, the higher the response rate will be. Like we mentioned, if it's the same school, the same organization, similar career path, they'll be more likely to respond, and even something intangible will work. You could say something like, I saw you pivoted from banking to tech, and I'm going through that transition right now. I would love to grab 15 minutes of your time. The point is to make them feel like this email was sent to them specifically, and it wasn't just blasted to 50 people. The second thing is you have to come from curiosity and add value. So this is where most people will go wrong. They send cold emails that are entirely about themselves. Hi, I'm a student and I want to learn about your career. Can we chat? That's not terrible, but it's pretty forgettable and it doesn't really give a reason for somebody to respond to you. If they have free time, they might, but if they're busy, they probably will forget about it. The best cold emails show that you've done the work. They show that you're not just going through the motions and that you might actually be interesting and worth talking to for them. Remember what I did with my cold email in my example from earlier. I didn't just say, can I pick your brain? I sent some research. I found companies worth investing in. I identified a problem. And I led with value before I even ever asked for anything. You don't have to go that far every time, but show some genuine curiosity, mention a specific project that they worked on, ask a specific question about their career that shows you've actually looked into who they are. If your email can be copied and pasted to somebody else, it's not good enough. The third key driver is the volume and the timing. So once you found the right person, and once you've done your research and have something genuine to ask and say in your email, it really matters about when you send it and how much you're sending. Like I said, you need to aim for at least 10 people emailed for every one conversation that you want to have. This isn't necessarily about being spammy, it's about being realistic. People are busy, some won't see your email, and some will mean to reply, but they'll just forget. Timing matters a lot because if you catch somebody when they're at a slower time in the work week, they'll be more likely to respond immediately rather than if they're juggling a bunch of things or approaching a deadline. I found that Monday afternoon typically works the best, and a Sunday afternoon cold email typically gets buried under Monday morning activity. So now you know the 3 core principles of sending a cold email. What does this email actually look like? It should be very crisp, no more than 2 paragraphs. The first sentence should just be who you are and the connection that you have with them. So it could be something as simple as, "Hi, Amelia. I'm Jan, a sophomore at New York University. I saw that you were also part of AK Psi and have built a career in marketing since graduation." The second sentence is what caught your attention. "I've been exploring how brands are evolving in the attention economy, and your work in brand licensing stands out." The third sentence is about your specific curiosity. "I'd love to hear about some of your recent projects and how you think about balancing the creative side versus the analytical side." Sentence 4 is the ask. "Are you free for 20 minutes the week of February 12th?" That's the whole email. No resume attached, no 5-paragraph essay about your life story. No, "I know you're really busy, but..." It's just short, specific, and human. So notice what's not in there. You're not begging for anything. You're not asking for a job. There's no desperation involved. Just genuine curiosity from someone who's done their homework. This is what starts getting you replies. You're doing your research and you have genuine questions, so you can have an interesting conversation with somebody who works in the... Now, once you've sent the email, the next step is to follow up. This is where most people quit. It's not likely that you'll get a response on your first outreach. You could send a very great email and you'll still not have a reply after a week. Most people will think, "Oh, they're probably not just interested. I don't want to be annoying." This is the wrong mindset to be in. Most people will not reply after the first email, even if there's some alignment where they want to talk to you. It's not because they're not interested. It's because they're just busy. Think about how you lose your attention when you go and doom scroll Instagram or get sidetracked by scrolling on Twitter. These are people that are not that much older than you and have the same decreased attention span just like you. A follow-up isn't annoying. It's just a subtle reminder. But the key is to not just send, "Hey, bumping, following up," or something like that. You really want to focus on adding something new. So if Amelia doesn't respond, you might follow up and say, "Hi, Amelia. Following up on my previous note, I saw that your team worked on the Fanatics partnership for the MLB collaboration. I'm curious about what that process looked like from the licensing side. Would love to hear if you have a few minutes." You see what happened there? You didn't just nudge. You showed that you're still paying attention and continuing to do your own research with or without talking to her. You added a new and specific reason to talk to them. And that's the difference between a follow-up that feels pushy and one that feels genuine. A good rule of thumb is to follow up twice. And if after 3 total emails you hear nothing, mark it as a no and move on. There's no harm done. The world will keep spinning, and you can maybe reach out a few months later after you've done more research, or maybe you've talked to more people and have something else that you want to ask the person. So now hopefully you have a good idea of how powerful this can be. Now let me talk about what happens when you start doing this, because this is the part that people underestimate, and everything will always compound. Your first email might take you 30 minutes to write, but your 20th might take you 5. You'll get faster, you'll get sharper, you'll learn what works and what doesn't. But more than that, every conversation will lead you somewhere. If one person responds, you'll have a great 20-minute call. They might even mention a colleague that you should talk to. And so now you have a warm introduction. You don't have to cold email anybody else. You now have a referral. This is the power of cold emailing. The person the initial cold email refers you to tells you that the team's hiring, but the role isn't posted yet. And it won't be for another few months. But because you're in this conversation, you're in the flow of information, you're now in their networks and in their orbits, you know about this role and opportunity before anybody else does. This is what accessing the hidden job market is actually about. It's not some secret website. It's being in the flow of information because you built real relationships with real people. And the person that you emailed months ago will remember you when a role opens up. Whose name do you think will come to mind? It's not going to be the 500 people who submitted resumes to the portal or somebody that emailed them after the application. It's going to be you, someone they had a genuine conversation with months before there was even a job opening. You showed up first, you showed up as human, you showed up genuine, you showed up curious, and you started to show that you had value to add. This is the compounding effect of cold emailing, and it never stops working. So here's what I want to challenge you to do today. For the next 30 days, send 1 cold email a day. Just 1. That's 30 emails, 30 people you weren't connected to before, and even if 10% respond, that's 3 real conversations. It only takes 1 conversation to change your life. You'll have 3 chances to learn something, discover something, or get pulled into an opportunity you didn't even know existed. You can make it easier on yourself in setting up a simple spreadsheet that helps you track all of your cold emails. You don't need to get fancy. You just need to write the name down, when you sent the email, and the time, and maybe a column for notes. Spend the first few days building your list. Go to LinkedIn and try to find 30 or 50 people who share something in common with you. Find people in your target industry, find people in a company that you really want to work for, and people whose career paths you find interesting. Then start sending these emails. Send 1 a day, just make it non-negotiable. And when I say 1 a day, I mean 1 good cold email. Spend 30 minutes writing it. Every email that you write should not be able to be copied to anybody else. The email that you write, your friend shouldn't be able to take it and send it to the same person or somebody else. It should be very bespoke and crafted to you and the person that you're sending the email to. You can use AI to help you think through what to write, fix your grammar, edit it, trim it, and so on, but don't let AI write it for you. People can tell when AI is writing something. It's not really good yet. I want you to send a real 4-sentence message to a real person that actually shows you looked into who they are. 5 thoughtful emails a day will beat 100 automated ones. When someone finally replies, you should schedule the call and accommodate their time. Show up prepared, listen more than you talk, have good questions, and take notes, because what they tell you will now inform the next person that you will email. When someone doesn't reply, follow up twice, and then move on. I promise you, 30 days of this will get you further than 200 applications ever will. And it's not because cold email is some sort of magic. It's because it's putting you in the real conversations with real people who have real opportunities. And this is where jobs actually come from. So now if you want the full playbook, I wrote a complete step-by-step guide with examples that you can copy and paste, use for inspiration with some email templates, how to find anyone's email address, follow-up sequences, tracking system, everything. I have a complete guide written that's free for anyone to read and follow. It's in my newsletter and the link's in the description below. As you're doing this, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment or feel free to email me if you have any questions or you're doing something and it's not landing. Applications will put the future in somebody else's hands and cold emails will put it back into yours. Start today, do anything, do something. Until next time.